Hi, everybody. I know it's not my usual time. I have a special engagement that I need to get to tonight, so I decided to do something a little different, a little editorializing that you don't usually get on these opinion sports kinds of programs that are either owned by franchises or are trying to grab into your pocket to take extra money from you, or it's not wacky. Oh, I want to make this trade kind of opinions. I want to talk about truth. I want to talk about facts. And sometimes wild opinions are fun, but sometimes you find yourself so lacking in truth when you're covering sports, it's ridiculous. And I don't really cover sports. This is an editorial program. Everything we do is really editorial content. You can take this as my opinion, but damn it, this is the truth. And I want you to understand why it is the way it is. Today, the other day I was reading articles, and Nate McMillan, who's done a fabulous job as the interim head coach of the Atlanta Hawks, has brought them to the brink of getting into the playoffs, basically at the brink being at the play-in stage. And he decided that he wanted to get his team fired up. And before a game against the New York Knicks, that this would determine whether or not, in fact, his season would continue and their season would continue or not. He got his team all hyped up. And on Wednesday, in a Zoom call with the media, he said that the NBA wants New York, the Knicks, in the playoffs. He said on the call, that's the message that he delivered to his team. Quote, absolutely, I've talked about that to the team a lot. Basically, I've gone as far as saying that the league wants this, he said. They need this. New York, this is a big market for the league, and New York has been out of the playoffs for a number of years. And this is a team that our league, they want to see. There's a huge fan base, and they want to see New York in the playoffs. Additionally, he said, the league wants to see it. Everybody wants to see this. Even to the fact that our opening game was moved to Sunday, they want to see this. So yes, we've talked about it, about the advantages of the situations and some of the things that we're going to have to face going into game one, with everyone picking New York to win and a lot of folks wanting to see New York in the playoffs. It's a battle. It's a challenge. Just playing New York, all that comes with it. They've had a really good season, and I think the NBA is excited about having them back in the playoffs. He also said there's going to be a lot of calls that probably won't go our way. Now, if you weren't paying attention, the Hawks were 14-20 when they made the coaching change, and since Nate McMillan got there, 27-11. The Knicks are 41-31 this season. Now, he was fined $25,000 for saying that, which is kind of a sad thing, because he spoke the truth. And God forbid we should speak the truth. And we all know about the league and that the league does what's best for the league. But I want to kind of broaden this whole thing out to NBA basketball, seeing as how we're coming to the crescendo of the NBA season, if you want to call it a crescendo. The NBA has become slowly but surely more and more predictable through time, and the reason that they're so predictable is because players that move from team to team get teams into the playoffs. So you know that if Russell Westbrook goes somewhere, that his star value is going to get him on TV in the playoffs, and teams are going to have a better chance of winning when these guys jump around to different teams in the league. I have gone in the past as far as saying, and I know for a fact, I shouldn't say that I think this, I know for a fact that there was tampering done by Miami with LeBron James before he left Cleveland. And I'm not complaining about it. Facts are facts. And Pat Riley tampered with LeBron while he was still contractualized with the Cavaliers and set up the whole thing. That's great. It did great for the folks in Miami. And, hey, we got a title out of LeBron in Cleveland. Wonderful stuff. But you start looking at what's happening around the league and you start asking yourself some questions. But here's what I call the big dick of truth. Because it's staring right at you, and you can't miss it, folks. The biggest enemy of all basketball fans, except those in elite markets, is college basketball. You don't realize it, but it's true. One of the reasons is colleges recruit the best players in the country. Coaches want to win to justify their multi-million-dollar contracts that, yes, college coaches have. And they want to continue to coach and ride herd over players, so we end up with games that are played with scores of 66 to 64 or 72 to 58. And these players are basically playing for the head coaches who coach them in college. And they're preparing for a bigger life in the NBA. Now, why blame college basketball? Because college basketball athletes don't make any money. Coaches do, the university does, players don't. But if they attend the right school, the right program, get the right publicity, they're going to get into the NBA. They're going to be one of those draft picks that makes a good amount of money. So we'll take a Zion Williamson, for example, who went to Duke. He didn't even have to play that many games at Duke. You know, same thing with Greg Oden many years back, if you remember, if you're an Ohio State fan. Didn't even play that many games because he was injured a lot of the time. But the bottom line was, everybody said Zion is the best guy in the draft, and he's going to go number one. Of course, he ended up going to the New Orleans Pelicans, which is great. It gave something to cheer about for New Orleans fans who really had nothing at all to cheer about whatsoever since Drew Brees. Consequently, he goes there. And David Griffin starts talking that talk that he talked in Cleveland because God only knows David Griffin believes that he's the greatest general manager in the history of the NBA. He's wrong about that. But be that as it may, the truth is the truth. Zion went there, and what exactly has happened? Are they ever really going to get on top? It doesn't really matter. Because if you're Zion Williamson, you're told by your agents the second. I mean, when you're in school, for God's sake, then you make the decision that you're going to go pro. You've got agents in your ear. And they're saying, Zion, you're going to go high, which means you're going to go to a bad team. Bad team's going to have trouble bringing good players in. You're going to be great because they're going to feed you the ball. You're going to average 27 points a game. You're going to be really good out there on the floor. And every team in the league will be salivating to get you. But you got to wait 5 years. And then in the 6th year, you can make your move. So improve your game while you can. Put up all the stats you can. And fuck winning and losing because you can't control that. But what you can do is control where you go on your next stop, which will be Los Angeles, New York, or one of the teams that is really great at that point in time. Although we can almost name them right now without a crystal ball. So then we get guys like Colin Sexton. And it's like, well, Colin, Cavaliers are interested in you. Bone up on your offensive game. Because you know something? They're not going to win in Cleveland. Never going to win in Cleveland. Look at their roster. But you'll be able to chuck up just as many shots as you want to, and you can declare in your sleep and in your dreams that you're an all-star, even though you're only 6'1" and you can't defend. But you can put up 24 points a game, and that puts you in the talk for being an all-star. But you're not going to get any respect in Cleveland, but don't worry about that. I'm your agent, and again, they can only control you for so many years. And once they're out of control of you, you can go wherever the hell you want to go. And you know something? Right now, look at what De'Aaron Fox got. You're worth the same amount as he is because your stats are just as good. That's right, Colin. You could make a $150 million contract and never play defense in Cleveland and leave Cleveland and never go back there again. And it's happening team after team, player after player. There is no concept of team basketball. Why do you think that LeBron is still leading teams to championships? because you can't grow these people on trees. Why hasn't Johannes Embiid, who they got all kinds of help for in the process, why can't Antetokounmpo, why can't these people win NBA championships? And the reason is they're not working as hard on their game because they got a huge contract and they're making a ton of money. And the bottom line is, if they win or if they lose, they get paid the same amount of money. And they have to be better than those people who can legitimately win championships. Guys like Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and LeBron James. There's no incentive. You go where you go, you get paid what you're paid, you're wealthy, and the TV cameras will follow you around because you're a name star in the league. But from the moment you're on campus in college, the great enemy of professional basketball, you're a big man on campus. You get everything except money. I can tell you that. You're the most popular guy on campus. You can get dates all you want. You can get free meals all you want, as long as you kind of keep that on the QT. And by the time they get to the NBA, some NBA coach like J.B. Bickerstaff has to sit them down and say, now let me explain to you the significance of five-man basketball and why we need to be a team. Whoop, tune out. You see it over and over, year after year. Give me mine. Give me mine. I want my points. What do you want me to do? You want me to throw a pass to Larry Nance Jr. so he can break all of his fingers? Is that what you want me to do? If I threw the ball to Andre Drummond, I'd never see it back again. So, God damn it, I'm not going to pass it to anybody. I'm going to chuck it up. So Colin Sexton's in the position that he's in. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, whether they got a high draft pick or not, what does it matter? How many have they had already? It doesn't make any difference. The guys who are coming into the league are not willing to sacrifice. And the head coaches can't get them to. Now, here's the other thing that's interesting. Just take a look at not that long ago when you had the San Antonio Spurs as a dynasty basketball team. You take a look at that and you say, wow, man. I mean, look at the players they had. They had some really selfless players. But how do you think that happened? Well, Popovich. Popovich got help. If Tim Duncan didn't believe in the whole thing, it would never have happened. They would have ignored the head coach and they would have moved on to something else, and that would have been the end of it. Without having veterans being able to teach the young players under their wings, and for those players to sit on the bench at first and not become all-stars in their first 2 years, they learn what it means to sacrifice. They have no idea what it is to sacrifice. They get a free ride to college. They stay there for 1 or 2 years. They go out to the NBA, and they're going to make millions of dollars. They don't care about the other guys around them. So there you have it. That's the truth with the NBA. There's so much truth in sports, it's ridiculous. The truth in baseball. I'd like to tell you how happy I am for Corey Kluber that he threw a no-hitter. But at the same time, I want to tell you, he's 35 years old. His velocity's off 3.5 miles an hour from when he was a Cleveland Indian. God bless him for coming back to the Yankees and doing better this year. I love the guy. He's a great pitcher, a great competitor, and he has given himself every conceivable chance to win. But throwing a no-hitter is not that big a deal anymore. Then what, 6 of them? 7 of them? This year? I mean, I remember throwing, it used to be such an important thing, Wow, God forbid, a perfect game, and Kluber was 1 walk away from a perfect game. God forbid, man. God forbid. Somebody throw Lenny Barker's perfect game for the Cleveland Indians, and a team that was going nowhere still goes down as legendary in Cleveland Indians history because they really don't have much of a history post 1948 and 1954. That's it. Now it's no big deal. Guys can come out who are 34-year-old veterans who throw off-speed stuff and throw a no-hitter. Used to be Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan had the express 97, 98 mile-an-hour fastball back when. And he had the 12-6 breaking ball. And if he was throwing the curve for strikes, he was going to no-hit you. He had that kind of stuff. He was filthy. But now, no. These pitchers aren't filthy. The guys who throw no-hitters against the Cleveland Indians, there've been 2 of them this year. How special are they? Well, if you can get ahead in the count and then throw a bunch of pitches out of the zone, they'll swing and miss. They'll get themselves out. The players regularly get themselves out. God forbid, I keep saying, that players should actually break the mold. God forbid that they should actually hit against the shift, try to get on base. God forbid that that with men in scoring position, that they move them closer or move them across the plate. God forbid they shouldn't swing for the fences and try to put up the big numbers. But you know what the god-awful truth is? The big dick of truth of baseball is staring at you in the face. That players would rather hit home runs. And that's what they're being taught when they're younger playing the game. It's all about the launch angle, little Timmy. Because if you can get that ball up in the air, by the time you get bigger and you eat your spinach, you'll be able to hit home runs. And what's the magic number? You got to hit 30 or more. God, and if you hit more than 35, you are going to be living it in fat land. So you wind up doing what you do. You go down there, they tinker and tamper with your swing, and pretty soon, when you do make contact, by golly, it goes out of the ballpark. So you're a modern-day Rob Deere or Dave Kingman, and you swing the bat as hard as you can, regardless of the situation. So if there's a man on third base with 1 out, really all you need to do is elevate the ball to the outfield to get the run home. Fuck no. I'm swinging for the fences. Strike 3. And you know something? It's nothing unusual for hitters now. One out of every 4, sometimes 3.5 times at bat to strike out. So how hard could it be to throw a no-hitter with those kinds of statistics? The amazing thing to me is if you have a decent pitching staff, the Cleveland Indians have a decent pitching staff this year. I wouldn't call it elite because it used to be elite when we let those years kind of waste away by letting Russell Branyan swing and miss. But if you did set up a situation where runners could be moved along and hitters would be selfless and would go the opposite way and drive in runs, it doesn't take that many runs if you are the Cleveland Indians to win a baseball game. But the problem is there's no reason for the owners of the Major League Baseball teams to change a damn thing because they're raking in money. They don't give a shit about anything else. God only knows. That's been the case since time immemorial. The only business in America that's not even up to antitrust laws. They don't have to follow the fucking law that everybody else does. So they don't give a shit. They just keep making money. And if they're in a big market, they make all the media money in the world. They can afford all the Francisco Lindors that they want, whatever the hell it is. They don't care. Winning and losing, you complain about the Dolans. They don't care. They're just trying to make a living. They're not, winning and losing doesn't mean a goddamn thing in the great scheme of things. And the reason that the players don't give a flying fuck is because they see the money going into the hands of the owners and they say to themselves, you know something? If they ask me to sacrifice and go to the opposite field, I might be able to raise my batting average from 220 to 260 or 270. But it's going to cut my home runs down from 35 to 22. It's like, I'm fucked. They won't pay me. And that's exactly what happens. You know, I think his bat is slowing down. We're not going to pay him. So the guy goes out after sacrificing for his team, and he only hits 22 home runs in a season, and he gets traded. What do you think he's going to do on the next team he's on? He ain't going to sacrifice for anybody, that's for goddamn sure. He's going to stand up there and swing away and try to prove to the league that once again he's a 30 and over home run kind of guy. What kind of baseball does this make for? It makes for no-hitters and meaningless no-hitters and boredom in the stands and a total lack of interest in the game. And there's no incentive for it to ever change. Pitchers are throwing faster and harder, and if they develop a second pitch, it used to be if you can control 3 or 4 pitches. Bullshit, not anymore. 2 pitches. James Karinchak, his rising four-seam fastball and a curveball. That's all Karinchak needs. And if he throws the breaking ball for a strike, you're fucked. Not going to hit it because you're swinging for the fences. The big dick of truth spares nobody. And sports, we like to think that our teams can be competitive. But I got bad news for you. You're waiting for the draft for the Cavaliers. What do they have? What do they have? Jared Allen? All right, he's a good young center. He's a little light. At 215 pounds, he's not going to bang around. He's going to have to develop a little bit more range. You've got Colin Sexton, who I would trade in a heartbeat because he's never going to change who he is. He's Ricky Davis, but maybe without some of the stupid antics. He really wants to win. Personally, team-wise, nah, not so much. He wants to, he's bitter that he wasn't an all-star. Me. What else do you got? You got Okoro. Okoro is a rising guy who they've tried to get to play defense, and he is a shooting guard. He is not a 3, and they can't make him be a 3. He's not big enough to be a 3. He doesn't shoot well enough right now to be a prolific 2, but they're working on it. They got Dylan Windler, and Dylan Windler can't get out of a sling or a cast. He's hurt all the time. Larry Nance Jr., I swear to God, if a ball can find his fingers to break it or something that will break something on his body, it will find him. And believe me, he wants out of Cleveland. None of these people want to stay there. You don't want a career where you know that you're going to wind up losing 18 of your last 21 games year after year after year. You kind of would rather be a piece of a team, If you're Larry Nance Jr., rather than being the best guy on the court as being an all-around kind of guy, you'd love to come off the bench, You'd love to come off the bench at a winning championship team, And watch others do some of the lifting. Rather than giving your body up and your heart and your soul up for nothing. So that some guy can chuck up 27, 28 shots a game. You're never going to get better, Cleveland. Not in basketball, you're not. The only time it happened was when LeBron was here, and you've seen the statistics of what it was before and what it was after, twice now. There ain't going to be another LeBron coming to Cleveland. We were the lucky generation. We got to see it. But the big dick of truth is that many other teams are in the same exact position. And New Orleans, Mardi Gras is great. Po' boys are about the best sandwiches you can eat, especially if there's fucking deep fried oysters in them. Awesome shit. God only knows the French Quarter's a great place to hang out, and it's a great party town. But NBA championships, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There's so many teams like that. Tony the Calf just figured out, oh my God, the crazy cow is on the air. No, this is not a 7-hour marathon broadcast. Yeah, it's because I'm not doing a show tonight because I've got a social situation. Somebody invited Rox and I out for a little social occasion, and seeing as how we're vaccinated, we're taking advantage of it because we've been bound to our houses for damn near 2 years now. So I'm kind of casting away the 6 o'clock for today only and having a little social life and pleasing the little woman at the same time, You can't just stay here chained to a house all day. It's not fun. So the Cavaliers can get another good player in the draft, but the process just starts over. I got to look good so that my second contract, I got to make hay. I got to stay in the league. The way I'm going to stay in the league is to prove I can score this many points. It's no different than the home run theory in baseball. I can prove that I am up here. I can hit 30 home runs or more in a season. And then I'll be wanted and I'll get paid big money the second go around. And the teams that get left behind have accepted that fate too. Now we'll just be the minor league organizations for the big teams in the league. Nate McMillan, thank you for telling the truth. And there's nothing wrong with using that as motivation for your team. And there's no reason why you shouldn't publicize that fact and that truth before the game, so that when people see all the lousy fucking calls that go New York's way, then they'll realize that what you said is the big dick of truth. As far as the Knicks are concerned, the NBA knows. That's all Stephen A. Smith will talk about for the next fucking week. If the Knicks win, that's what he's going to talk about. So the mouthpiece are ready to talk New York, New York, New York. But they don't give a shit about Atlanta. Let's be honest about it. When was the last time anybody gave a shit about Atlanta? Really, in basketball? When Budenholzer was having the best record in basketball, then losing in the first round, or eventually to the Cavaliers, and then looking like he was about to cry on the podium? Do I remember that correctly? How about Dominique Wilkins? I think that somewhere in the past of the Hawks, there's something like that. I don't know. All I can tell you is this. The truth of sports should be that when we talk about things analytically, that we talk about something that has a chance to happen. Baseball is the worst because basketball's fast-paced and it's action-filled, and even if your team sucks, they can make a great play. That's a highlight reel play. Baseball, and it's never going to change. Because everybody's being told, you got to go up there and you got to hit 35 home runs. You got to do it, And I've never seen at pitches so far out of the strike zone being swung at by people. And the funny thing is, in the old days, if you remember, walking a hitter was like the worst thing you could do to start off an inning. Remember those days? Well, those days are gone, man. They're completely gone. And the reason is, you fall behind a hitter 3-0? Fuck, you don't have to groove a fastball. No, just throw them 3 more breaking pitches in the dirt and they'll swing at them. I see it all around the league. Everyone's saying, wow, Shane Bieber, what an accomplishment. 20 consecutive games with 8 or more strikeouts. No! Shane Bieber is not Nolan Ryan. He's not Ferguson Jenkins. He's not Bob Gibson. Please. He's a fine young pitcher. Don't get me wrong. But he's getting help. The hitters are helping him every step of the way. Please. Baseball's the worst. And if you develop a starting pitching rotation that can get you 6 innings and then cultivate 7, 8, 9 on your bullpen, you'll be in every game because the other team's swinging at pitches just like your team is. And I just wonder what Terry Francona is doing in the dugout. I told him not to swing at that one. I don't know. I remember when Albert Bell hit what was it, 50 home runs and it hit over 300. What happened there? So baseball's the worst, and it's slow, and it's boring, and the umpires have taken over the game, and they're horrible men. They're horrible men. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. The other day I was watching the end of the Indians game, and I taped them. I don't watch them live because I got better things to do. But I taped them so I can watch them, and I fast forward through all the strikeouts, which is, 3/4 of the game. And, the final pitch that Karen Check threw, the umpire pulled a Frank Drebin. He forgot where in the fuck he was, I guess. He's senile. He doesn't call the pitch. Remember the first pitch that Frank Drebin called in the Police Squad movie? He didn't call it because he didn't realize, what am I supposed to do? Strike, He punched the guy out a full 2 seconds after the ball crossed home plate. And the hitter's like, what the fuck are you doing? Game over. And the players walk off the field. The umpires are horrible. They're the worst. The worst. And they got a union that protects them, and that's never going to change either. And the Dolans are never going to change either. And the only thing that's going to change are the channels, because people are going to change the channel and not watch baseball, and which is fine with me. That's why we don't really talk about it, except to complain when we're, hoisting the big dick of truth. So I've crapped on college basketball, professional basketball, and baseball, and I'll finish with the NFL. The only thing I don't like about the NFL is that there's the only transparency there is the big dick of truth, which is they're never going to really fix the replay system because the replay system favors the NFL. And if they need a critical call to go a certain way and it has something to do with the gambling stream, then I'm certain the call will go that way. So I've thrown away all hope of replay ever being repaired. It's not going to happen. But at least as fans, we can say, you know something? All the wounds that the Cleveland Browns suffered since 1995, self-inflicted. Getting the team together and the league not giving the team enough time really to get an organization together. And by 99, we were out there and we're just a bunch of stumble bums. And literally, look how many years it took. I mean, talking 20 fucking years. All right? 20 fucking years of watching some of the worst football you can imagine. And this is why I say, big dick of truth. Cleveland Browns fans are the best fans in the NFL. They talked about, well, what about the Hogs? Well, the Hogs used to win before Dan Snyder came to town, all right? Washington had a history of winning, remember? Don't tell me Pittsburgh Steeler fans, and their terrible towels. I'm talking about a spoiled bunch of fans. Look what they did. Look what happened to the Steelers when finally they didn't have a quarterback. Do you remember them booing Mark Malone when he came out of the tunnel waving the towel? Like, get the fuck out of here and sit down. You're not a Steeler or Cordell Stewart. Oh, he's gay. He's not one of us. Yeah, the only thing he's going to do is butt fuck people in an iron steel mill. Steelers fans couldn't handle it when they were bad for 2 years. Oh, Ricky, take me to the club. They're not the best fans. The best fans are Cleveland Browns fans because, my God, what they had to sit through. And how injurious it was as a fan. I mean, you felt like the little kid in the neighborhood who got picked on when they were a kid because you come out wearing your Browns paraphernalia and people would ridicule you because the team was so bad. And then they'd rub it in by just making sure that you would lose meaningless games to teams like Jacksonville so that your fans could throw batteries at the officials on the field. And they would change rules just for the Browns to make them lose. We've sat through all of it. The big bitch that I have about the NFL is that there's too much fucking gambling going on and it controls decisions that are being made at critical moments of games. You can almost predict when the holding flag in the secondary is going to get thrown. It's a 3rd and long, and the team that's supposed to win needs that first down, and there's going to be a flag laying somewhere in the secondary, and it gets old. But beyond that, I can tell you that the Browns didn't have to be bad for that long. It became kind of sporting fun for the league to pick on them because they were they were casualties of their own stupidity. Bad decisions, bad draft choices, bad quarterbacks, bad coaches, bad assistant coaches, horrible new coach hires, self-inflicted wounds. That is what it was. And all it really took, you see, is to hire the right head coach and to put in a front office that doesn't listen to the schmuck who owns the team. That the guy who owns the team, who knows only about ripping people off at a trucking company, doesn't have any say what goes on the fucking field. Just shut up and write the checks, you dumb fuck. And the second somebody took that to heart, the Cleveland Browns are better. No more self-inflicted wounds. No more draft day. We're going to wreck the league. We're going to go ahead with Manziel because deep in my trucking heart, I have this feeling that Johnny Manziel is the guy. Even though he's undersized, he didn't have a very good arm. And that's what we had to live through. Well, not anymore. Now we have a good team. You see, and it's like, well, how did all of a sudden, how did this happen all of a sudden? And how can you explain, Moo, that we didn't do better last year? Well, the reason we didn't do better, we had no defensive secondary. And why? Because of all the years of stupidity. They were slow. They were slow. They were like Clydesdale horses, slow. They were like playing football in the wrong era, slow. I saw something on my YouTube come up, and it was the craziest, and Tony the Calf would know about this, the craziest fourth quarter in history, and it was a game that the Vikings were in. and there's a play in the end zone, and this happened a number of years ago when Sendejo was out there. Vikings, it's like, yeah. It's like, since Hector was a pup, Sendejo has been on the field since Christ was on the cross. I don't get it. People are wondering, why didn't we do better, Moo? It's because, look at what was back there. They couldn't stop anybody. Not from game one through game whatever. No. Couldn't do it. It's amazing they did as well as they did. But the reason was because of all the bad decisions that the predecessors had made. But in 1 year, in one fucking year, they shored up the offense so that it was actually a cogent plan of attack. And we worked with a quarterback, got him away from being a kind of a gunslinger, childish kind of guy, into playing within a structured system. And he beat and drummed that into his players, Kevin Stefanski did. And then what did the front office do at the end of the year? Instead of just congratulating themselves, they said, boy, we got to work on that defense because God only knows that's what stopped us. I mean, we allowed a backup quarterback who was crippled to scramble. And get first downs. I mean, you know, we let a scrub beat us because we had no team speed to counteract anything. We couldn't run a blitz on a guy who hadn't played all year. We couldn't even have guys up at the line of scrimmage eye-sighting him who were fast enough to outrun a 96-year-old backup quarterback. Yes, the Ravens snow game, Tony. That is correct. The craziest fourth quarter in NFL history. But you see, all of a sudden, it's easier to make decisions when you can clearly acknowledge what the weaknesses are. Instead of having, like, well, we have to draft both offense and defense because we're in trouble with both, we got the offense at least organized. And now we work on the defense. And then, you know, and everyone's saying, well, if we don't make it all the way, then, you know, it's not good. Then it wasn't worth it. Fuck you. Okay? You're stupid if you think that way. Whatever the Browns do this year, do you realize how much balance they're going to have on both sides of the ball the following year? Because they're going to be able to start drafting wide receivers with speed. They're going to start getting into a position where they can trade up or trade down and do whatever they want to do because they're not going to have to hold their ground because they're not going to be getting a top 3 pick because they're not going to be finishing that badly. And they're going to be able to pinpoint the exact positions that they need help in. But they will have gotten the whole Rubik's Cube thing solved. And then it's just draft time instead of it's like, oh, we have to make a big splash for the quarterback. Now it's like, we got to find a wide receiver. And we can find him in the first round or the second round, you know? And there'll be somebody on the board who's going to make us better. And that's how you get incrementally to the point where you want to be. The heavy lifting's being done. We'll see how some of these young men do this year. And it's not going to be perfect. But they're addressing the need. In the NFL, you can go from rags to riches. And it isn't an instantaneous process. But if the Browns can go from fucking Freddie Kitchens' hell all the way to what they did last year to being this close to knocking off the Kansas City Chiefs. If they can do that in basically a 1-year period, then the NFL is a good thing, minus the gambling. Then the NFL's fair. Then the fans, honestly, the Cleveland Browns fans could finally look in the mirror and say, yeah, we fucked ourselves, man. That's what we did. We fucked ourselves. But now that the right decisions are being made, wow, it's fun to watch. And you have to admit, Sundays are fun now. You look forward to it, don't you? And not to complain, but with the feeling that every week you have a chance to win. As opposed to watching a Cavaliers game where it's like, well, I tape those because I got better things to do than 2 hours and 15 minutes of watching them fuck up. You got no belief. What's the point? It would be like in the fight game, if your local fighter, fought a bunch of scrubs and they moved him up and he had to face one of the top fighter in the world, going in, he's going to get killed. You might show up out of kindness. You might bring your doctor along just to make sure the guy didn't get killed. You want to give him moral support, but deep down he has no chance. That's what basketball in Cleveland is. And baseball, the only reason we have a chance is because the game sucks. Because a lot of people suck just as bad as we do. That is the big dick of truth. Be a fan. It's a great thing. But understand that the sports that you're cheering for, you don't control because some of these rules are way out of control. Umpires can do whatever umpires want to do, and they make up rules. And the officials in the NFL, there will be bad calls from now until the end of time. And God only knows, in basketball, there will only be 4 teams that ever matter every year. But we've got the Cleveland Browns, and we have hope. We've seen a Cavs title. Now, the Browns' time is starting. The meter is started running. And we all got to strap ourselves into the seat and row in the same direction as fans. Cheer this team on. I want no negativity about the Cleveland Browns in 2021 unless they really earn it. I don't want to hear, same old Brown shit. Don't want to hear that crap. Let's cheer them on and see if in our lifetimes a second championship. Because it ain't happening in baseball, folks. And I wasn't alive in 1948. No. Pre-embryonic, I was not alive. And I saw us come close, and I watched Charlie Nagy throw an 87-mile-an-hour fastball to the one-time great, 1 year only, look what Wayne Huizenga just bought, Florida Marlins. As close as we were ever going to come. But that second title, man, for Browns fans, could you imagine what the Browns fans would do? Look at how many Cavaliers fans, 1 million plus, showed up. Can you imagine what Browns fans would do if the Cleveland Browns won a Super Bowl? Unbelievable. I just wanted to share my feelings with you so you understand where I'm coming from. And everything spills forth from the fact that baseball doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they're not even playing the game anymore. And you know how stupid it is to watch? It's like Bruce Drennan. We got ducks on the pond. Look at that. We got ducks on the pond, Joe. Look at that out there. We got runners on first and second. All we have to do is butt them over, then hit them, and we got ourselves a run. No. Doesn't happen that way anymore. Probably Bruce Drennan hates baseball now, too. Why did he swing? Why did he do that? It's like, I'm at a loss. And I want to figure out, is Austin Hedges have a neuromuscular disorder? Do you realize that he's hitting under a 120? That's really hard to do. And the more at-bats he's given, the lower his average is going. It's remarkable. They say there's no pitchers that hit in the American League. Cleveland Indians, Austin Hedges. He throws a runner out and everyone starts sucking his dick. But you know something? He can't hit a baseball. I don't know. And then you got the hot and cold guys. Franmil Reyes, who looks like a monster 1 minute, and then will strike out 18 out of 20 times for the next several games, and then come out and hit 2 or 3 home runs in 2 games, right? How do you cheer this on? How do you stay interested in this? I can't. Thanks, everybody, for listening to me editorialize. I will be back on Monday with my panel and with everything back in perspective, and we'll be back in an opinion mode, and none of it will be truth. But let this at least be a permanent record of the truth in sports and all the hype that you get on the networks and all of the crap. That's just what it is. It's just crap. They know damn well who's going to win, and it just becomes a talking point. Just like it was a talking point. If Baker Mayfield had a bad day, they come out of the woodwork to rip on him, right? The haters. And then Stephen A. Smith, if the Knicks are losing, he makes a name for himself by whining and insulting the team. And now that they're winning, he's jerking them off. You can't look to your media for truth. That's for sure. Where you can find truth are from podcasts like this that aren't owned by the team, that aren't being paid by any interests. Fans who have lived decades and seen the changes can talk about it up front. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I'll be back with you come Monday on the next Moohead Radio, 6 o'clock on Monday. Until then, have yourselves a very pleasant weekend, and hasta la vista, Pastureheads. Good day.